Have you ever wondered what the best-selling book of all time is? It is not the dictionary or even the thesaurus, it is the Bible. In fact, bookstores sell over 1 million Bibles each year. Many read the Bible out of curiosity, but for the true Christian, the Bible is God's letter to humanity. This being the case, for us to truly enrich ourselves from the reading of the Bible, we must read it not with the same sentiments that we read every other book, because the words contained in it transcends us. Hello friends, welcome to Fields of Faith and Liberty with Shinshima Desmond. In today's video, we would consider 5 mistakes to avoid when reading the Bible. The first is reading only parts of the Bible. Some people have a habit of reading some verses here and there. Maybe they select the gospel passage, then the psalm, and there are whole parts of the Bible that they may never read because they sometimes consider them to be difficult or worse still, unnecessary. We should keep in mind that in the Bible, revelation is progressive, and if, for example, we do not know anything about the Old Testament, we may not have a good understanding of the New Testament. Reading the entire Bible from the beginning to the end helps us understand how God's plan develops. It helps us to understand also that Jesus did not come out of the blue like a rabbit out of a magician's hat, but Jesus is the culmination of a precise plan that God established from the beginning, even before the world was. So, it is good that over time one becomes familiar with the entire biblical revelation. This helps us to avoid assimilating wrong ideas about the Bible. Some parts of the Bible may seem difficult as you read, but keep on reading. Over time, you will see that your questions on some difficult passages will be answered when you read other passages. The second mistake we may fall into is ignoring the context. The Bible contains ideas and facts that are very distant from our mentality and sensibilities. As a result of this millennial and cultural gap, the Bible seems to be a book that is accessible only to those who have equipped themselves with a historical and linguistic formation. Thus, some basic training in these areas may help us to understand the Bible better. When you don't read a text in its context, you risk attributing wrong meaning to that text. The context finds its right meaning and interpretation only when inserted into the chapter and the particular book of the Bible we are reading. But in some cases, we need to read certain passages in the light of the entire biblical revelation in order to avoid making blunders. The Bible is an ancient text, and we must take into account the temporal distance between us and the authors. Reading in context is important because it helps us to apply biblical messages to our situation, to our historical and cultural context. Once we understand what the text meant for whoever wrote it and for the first readers, then we will be able to find the right application in our context. The third mistake we make is ignoring the literary genres of the Bible. In the Bible, there are different literary genres. Some passages are historical, others are poetic. Then there are the prophetic writings, the apocalyptic genre. There are letters, the epistles written to individuals and communities for specific reasons. The Gospels in their turn constitute a genre of its own, with its material collected in a certain way with specific purposes, and it is easy to see that each gospel has its own peculiarity according to the purposes for which it was written. Besides the literary genres, it is also important to distinguish the rhetorical figures, allegories, parables, idioms. In a book like the Apocalypse, then the symbols that are typical of visions cannot be ignored. In short, one cannot think of reading every verse of the Bible in the same way. If you read a news article in the newspaper or a poem, the weight you give to the words is very different, right? The same thing happens in the Bible. God used human writers to bring revelation to us, but He did not nullify their personality. The writers did not write simple statements of rules or maxims, but also wrote in a precise literary context. Therefore, we must respect the genre we are reading. The fourth mistake is reading passages from the Bible at random. This is one of the most serious mistakes we make, and it is very widespread. We can call this a superstitious reading of the Bible. We point a finger, opening the Bible at random, and then we ask ourselves, what does God mean to say to me in this passage? The Bible was not written as a random set of maxims that we can read at random, trying to make an application. Each verse is placed in context and is part of God's progressive revelation. So, if you read the Bible at random, you may never understand anything. At the most, you will get a very personal idea, and it may teach you a few lessons, but you are not respecting the way the Bible was written, book by book. Stop reading the Bible at random and start reading it book by book, so you see that gradually you will begin to understand. The fifth mistake we may make while reading the Bible is to read it with a preconception that we already know everything. Because we have been reading the Bible for many years and we have arrived at a point wherein we think that we have already understood everything. We think sometimes we don't need any advice. We don't need to talk to anyone. We don't need to listen to homilies and reflections on the Bible. We may read the Bible as a habit without being willing to let ourselves be changed by what we read. Any opinion different from ours we stamp as heresy without even going to check how things really are. Often we do not really let ourselves be guided by the biblical text. We seek in the text what we want to find in the light of what we have already established to be true. Thus, we risk remaining ignorant of the scriptures. We begin to understand the Bible not only when we read it ourselves. We learn to have an open mind toward the Bible when we pause to consider how others read it and interpret it. We also have a lot to learn from comparing our understanding of the Bible with that of others. These, in my opinion, are some of the top mistakes to avoid when we read the Bible. Click on the subscribe button below and hit on the notification bell so you will be notified each time I publish new content. See you in the next video.